So Brett Yormark has done an excellent job as commissioner, but I do think he's got a real problem on his hands after this weekend. I would not say, like Starter 179 kind of insinuated there, that it's like, hey, TV's going to be calling, ESPN's going to be calling and being like, hey, man, no way we're getting you more money on your deal if you're having that happen in one game. It's just not. If it were happening every other night, that'd be one thing. Officiating is bad across the board. But because of the fallout from some of this, Brett Yormark definitely does have a problem on his hands. So all across the sport and across the sports world, not just this sport, college football, across the sports world, college football, college basketball, you're hearing all about bad officiating. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel at all, I'm a Chiefs fan. What do you think I've been hearing about nonstop for the last 3 weeks? Officiating. How bad it is. All season long, I listened to Josh Pate pretty religiously during the season. Would definitely recommend his show if you're into college football. But he has hammered officiating the entire year. In most instances, I would say rightfully so. The LSU South Carolina game, one of the most egregious examples where South Carolina got robbed of what would have been, I think it was a scoop and score, right? Or was it a pick six? Defensive touchdown. That was probably the difference in the game and could have been the difference in the playoff, making the playoff or not for them at the end of the day. Very consequential. That was not good. Texas fans, they were really upset at that call in the Georgia game. They start throwing stuff on the field, right? I mean, we had that happening because officiating was poor enough, and that it was a very bad call that Texas fans were protesting in that moment. I understand their anger and frustration. So you're finding that all over the place. I don't think anybody feels like officiating is good much of anywhere, which some of that is human nature. Some of that is the advent of social media, where we have a free outlet to complain about anything all the time. Some of it is not devoting enough resources to officiating, not having an organized enough system. I know that, like Josh Pate, for instance, would tell you that that's a big part of the problem in college football officiating, that even college football officials agree it's just not organized enough. And you've also got guys who are doing this as like a second job. You know, this is not necessarily like a full-time job for most, I think, that are doing this. And so that can create some extra problems when you're trying to get uniform, good officiating across the board. Well, now it has hit the Big 12 basketball shores, because you did have a signature game in the Big 12 title race on Saturday night. It was a tremendous game. I enjoyed it. Thank you to Texas Tech at Houston for giving us a hell of a basketball game to watch. But you had 7-2 Texas Tech in the league, 9-0 Houston. The game being played at Houston. It is a big game for the league. It's a big game for what you perceive to be, in some ways, the centerpiece of the league, which is the men's basketball product. And you're getting this excellent game between two teams that are kind of regional rivals and are both at the top of the Big 12 standings. That is big. It's big for the TV product that you are trying to deliver in this moment. It's a huge game. And it is taking place in a somewhat down year for the league relative to the standard of the Big 12, which is incredibly high. This league has been so good for so long at basketball, and now with the addition of like Arizona, like you're really expecting the quality of this product to be really good. It's been a bit down this year, a bit disappointing. So highlight what's great about it, right? In a primetime Saturday night slot. And unfortunately, before the first media timeout, one player gets ejected. And in fact, it's the best player for one of the two teams involved in the game, a guy who I put on my midseason first team, all Big 12 team, and JT Toppin. And he gets ejected for, I mean, I hope you guys have seen it. I'm a little leery about playing it here just for copyright issues with YouTube. But Field of 68 tweeted a video of it. If you just search JT Toppin on Twitter, you're going to be able to find the video if you Google search it. What essentially happens is he's trapped and he jumps up to try and throw a pass. And as he jumps up from the sideline to throw a cross-court pass, like he's trying to get enough force on the ball and torque his body enough to get the pass away. And so his foot kind of flies out a little bit as I kick my camera. his foot flies out a little bit, and it does make contact with one of the defenders that are there. And I guess, I mean, this is the best explanation I can offer you. They eject him because if you were looking at it like an idiot without any context of, maybe I shouldn't be quite so mean, but if you're looking at it without the context of he's making a pass, I guess you could say it looks like he kicked the guy, but anybody who knows anything about what was happening there on that play, like, yeah, it was ridiculous. He should not have been ejected. And it would, Grant McCasland, then Texas Tech's head coach, goes nuts, gets tossed from the game. Anybody would have. I understand completely. And then Texas Tech is without its best player and its head coach before the first media timeout of the game. And that's not great. I mean, that's not great. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see it. It's not a great situation. And Kirby Hocutt, Texas Tech's athletic director, who is not one to sit around, he represents a fan base that is very fiery. And Kirby Hocutt's pretty fiery generally in situations like this himself. So we got this statement tweeted out from him before the game was even done. Says, I am appalled and disappointed by the office's egregious decision to eject JT Toppin from tonight's game against Houston. The decision made on a play that was clearly accidental and without intent is unacceptable. Immediately after the ejection, I spoke with Commissioner Yormark, who assured me that the situation would be addressed and there would be accountability. On behalf of Red Raider Nation, we are extremely proud of the team and the leadership of Coach McCasland. Which, yes, I mean, that's a whole different angle on this story. To win the game, oh boy, that's a hell of a job from Texas Tech to win the game at Houston. Longest home winning streak in the Big 12. Was it in the country? At least in the Big 12. Slightly longer than Iowa State's. And you go in and do it against a team that was absolutely rolling, and you do it without your best player and your head coach. That is as gutsy a win as we've seen in the Big 12 in a very long time. Incredible accomplishment. But if you notice in that statement, Kirby Hocutt is saying, hey, Brett Yormark promised me something would happen. So this is the problem that Brett Yormark has on his hands. Like, what do you do now? What do you do? This is the second time that you've been publicly pressured in the span of about 4 months by an athletic director in your league, basically to do something about officiating. First being Mark Harlan, famously, the athletic director at Utah. Now with that, Brett Yormark had at least the advantage of, well, that call was certainly debatable. That is, Mark Harlan is not objectively to everybody in the right on that. In fact, I think now that we've seen the alternate angles, most would tell you that that really was a hold, and it was fine. Of course, there was a defensive holding call late in the Holy War game with BYU. And it was easy to, like, you know, the language Mark Harlan used, saying the game was absolutely stolen from Utah, and he was disgusted by the professionalism of the crew, and we are excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I'm not. We won this game. I mean, he went so strong with the language, unprompted, that, like, very easy for Brett Yormark to just come out and be like, no, we're not taking that. You're fined. Be quiet. This is different. Like, anybody watching that is like, what is that officiating crew doing? Like, JT Toppin should not have been thrown out. That's objectively an asinine thing to do. So you're not in the same position here. And now you've got an athletic director that has gone out and said, hey, you need to do something. I've been assured that something will happen. So now we wait. And I guess my question is, I don't know exactly what Brett Yormark does. He can make a statement. Do you have, I guess you would maybe have the power to say, we're not going to let this guy do Big 12 games anymore. But it's not like these officials are like league employees. So I just don't know the level of control that you actually have over the officials. Guys are doing games in multiple different conferences. I mean, it may be that they're generally doing mostly Big 12 games, but they're not like your employee. John Higgins, who everybody remembers, I mean, he's now the Big 12 coordinator of officials, I believe. So, like, is it something with him? Does he have to fall on the sword with this? I don't know exactly what you realistically can do here. Because a lot of the issues, I think, they run deeper than just the Big 12. It's general organization and how it's set up within the sport and within college athletics. So good luck. I guess I would just say good luck to Brett Yormark. Your athletic director has put you in a position where you're going to have to do something, or else apparently you're not a man of your word. I mean, I see how much people would really care about that, but you're being pressured here. Second time you've now taken a public pressure from an athletic director within the span of like 4 months here. And this is not, Brett Yormark is a big picture deal maker. He is a marketing guru. I think we've seen with like how some of the tiebreaker stuff has been handled in the past. Like, it's not always like the nuts and bolts of how competition is happening that seems to really be like his strong suit. That's a little more new to him based on where his background has been. So I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I'm intrigued to see where it goes and what action would possibly be taken here. Because I don't know exactly. This is not like a defense of the official by any stretch, but it is at least me throwing my hands up like, I don't know exactly what options Yormark has. We'll see.